So the soap opera that is the 2020 Democratic primary election is starting to develop even more drama, except for this drama is actually something the progressives have been hoping for, they've been cheering for, and it has finally come. And I figured it was going to take Beto O'Rourke entering the race before we finally saw it, because up until this point, the establishment has seemingly coalesced around one candidate, and that candidate would be Kamala Harris. But I figured, because of a few factors that I will name later on in the video, that once Beto entered the race, there was going to be a problem. So check out this CNN clip and we'll talk about it.
Over those districts, not Brooklyn, right? But who's going to win over the districts that turned the race in 2016 and will likely turn it in 2020?
Well, I think you have to be focused on that, but you also have to be focused on turning out base voters, people who didn't show up, who showed up for Obama, but then, didn't show up for Hillary. And so I think that, ideally you would have somebody who could appeal to both of those groups of people. And, it's not clear to me exactly what Beto's plan is. It seems like he's more in what you're talking about there, but I think that that's short-sighted. Can I just say one thing, though, about what's bothering me about this isn't so much about what he's doing, it's what the media is doing. So the fact that he gets this Vanity Fair cover, and I feel like, he is getting kind of this special treatment that's not proportionate to what he's done. He's had a big accomplishment, but so did Stacey Abrams. Yep. And as was just pointed out, there are a lot of other candidates who've accomplished a lot. Like, it's not clear to me why he's on the cover of Vanity Fair and Kamala Harris isn't. And I think that that's something that the Democrats need to be.
I'm so interested in I'm fascinated by that too, and I want to know why do you think it is?
Well, because I think that there's still an issue in this country where people just get very, very excited about white men. I mean, I don't know what the other explanation is, or I shouldn't even say white men, because I think we saw the same thing with Barack Obama. And so the question is, I actually, Kamala Harris is an incredibly charismatic, obviously, I think, brilliant woman, and it's not clear to me why Beto O'Rourke is, like I said, is getting this kind of royal treatment that she's not getting. Or frankly, Stacey Abrams, who is incredible, right? I really like I saw her, thought, wow, this woman should run for president. So I just think that the media can help create a lot of this, so I think people have to be conscious of that.
We knew it was coming, didn't we? We all said it. We were like, yo, go ahead, bring in Biden, bring in Kamala, bring in Elizabeth Warren, bring in Beto, bring in Cory Booker, bring in my dog, bring Obama back, bring in Hillary. We don't care. Run them all against each other and watch them eat each other alive, which is ironic because on the progressive side of the Democratic primary election, Tulsi Gabbard, Bernie Sanders, and Andrew Yang, especially Yang, by the way, have been, and their supporters too, have been uplifting the other progressive candidates, fighting for all the progressive candidates to get on stage and fighting to have everyone's voices heard, which is, like I said, ironic because clearly even the pundits, right? Even, commentators like myself and Mike Figueredo and Secular Talk with Kyle Kalinske and not TYT though, but Tim Black, Jamal Talk, like everybody, we've been basically saying, and to my fault, not, I haven't been doing enough Yang coverage, but it's mostly just out of time constraints. But there have been, Tim Black did an extensive interview with Andrew Yang. And so there's been this elevation of all progressive candidates because we actually believe in democracy over on this side of the progressive fence. So it's just interesting to see this behavior coming out of CNN, which is, why are you getting more attention? Why is he getting more attention? Why is she getting more attention? Blah, 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 blah. Now, I will say this, though. When you're watching the interview from the beginning, like you're kind of like, oh, wow. This young lady is making some pretty brilliant points. Why, I agree with her, right? Beto O'Rourke hasn't really laid out a strategy. He doesn't seem to have a plan. Why did he get the cover of Vanity Fair? Why is he getting so much disproportionate attention? Like, I'm sure that as you are watching that, you were kind of like smiling too, like, wow, I can't believe CNN is actually allowing this conversation to persist without shutting it down accidentally. You know how the signal drops sometimes? They've done it a few times with Bernie Sanders, or basically anyone who sits on CNN and tells the truth. They will either drop your signal or make sure you never come back again. But they let her finish talking, and I was like, wow, this is a really good segment. I'm glad I caught it. And then she said, why isn't Kamala Harris getting Yo, look. When she said, whenever she was doing that build-up, and we're like, well, why do you think that they're giving to this type of disproportionate attention to Beto O'Rourke? Look, y'all, when she said it's because he's a white man, I was like, yes, 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 yes. Y'all know why I'm so happy? What have we been saying about identity politics this whole time? I have been saying for the last 2.5, I said, okay, they want to play this identity politics game. Once again, the Republicans have used identity politics for a long time. Even the libertarians even have used identity politics for a long time. It's a much more subtle game that they play. It's they invoke the Southern strategy, and they use dog whistles, which we've discussed extensively on this show. Democrats, once again, not that smart. They are a lot more overt when it comes to their identity politics. And the problem with playing identity politics on the left is that the left itself is made up of far too many identities for you to try and coalesce around one particular identity. The identity has to be truth if you're going to coalesce the left. The identity has to be facts. The identity has to be, reality, for example. Like, because most of the Democratic establishment and the limousine liberals are not living in reality. And so when we are at this point where Kamala Harris has been basically uplifted as the front runner for quite some time, we know she met with Hillary Clinton's donors in the Hamptons. We know that they love her. We know that she even inherited Hillary Clinton's 2016 primary staff. So how do you throw a wrench in the establishment narrative? And if you all recall, I even talk about this in a lot of my videos leading up to this primary. I said, it's going to be different. And people were like, well, why? I said, the thing about when everybody cheated for Hillary Clinton in 2020 was because she did have the name recognition. She had started campaigning 7 years in advance. 7 freaking years. Like, that's not an exaggeration, okay? She had all the super PACs on her side. She had the super delegates in her pocket before she even announced. She had the Clinton Foundation, okay? She even had the FBI on her payroll, essentially. It would have been what they believed to be career suicide to not support Hillary because she was guaranteed to get the nominee whether she won it or not, if you catch my drift. It's not the same thing this year. Why? Because there is no guaranteed nominee. Because there is no 7-year, hell, Hillary's career is damn near 30 or 40 years, but just 7 years of establishing as an entire party, we're going to uplift this woman and this woman alone, screw everybody else. That wasn't the case this time. Because everybody got they got a little bit too big for their britches. Beto was like, wow, the news really likes me. I think I could be president. Even Stacey Abrams, and when that comes in, best believe that is going to be a hellacious event. When Stacey Abrams come in, hell, y'all got me giving the State of the Union address. Clearly, I'm supposed to be the president. Kamala Harris, but they told me I was going to be the president in the Hamptons. They told me this. So she thinks she's supposed to be the president. Cory Booker, same thing. Elizabeth Warren, same thing. Everybody thought that they were supposed to be the president, and all their fans who are fans of these people based off of identity and almost nothing else feel like that person looks like me, that person acts like me, that person represents quote unquote me, not policy wise, just identity. And therefore I support them. It's their turn. The problem is it's like 17 candidates. It can't be everybody's turn. So what are you going to then experience? The infighting that we are seeing right now, because they have not coalesced, because there is not a legitimate reason to coalesce behind any of the establishment candidates right now, because none of them have a legitimate chance of beating Bernie Sanders at the moment. Like, according to all empirical data, according to everything we know about elections, they don't have a chance. It's not even close. Like, it is not even close, people. Example, Bernie raised $6 million on the first day. Beto claims he raised $6.1 million. You know what the difference is? For one, we didn't have to wait. It made sense that Bernie raised $6 million because Beto only raised $5,000 in the first 2 hours. Bernie raised $1.5 million in the first 3 hours, excuse me. So it's a little bit different, don't you think? A little bit, just a little bit. Beto raised $6.1 million, but he wouldn't tell us how many individual donations there were. And he wouldn't tell us who they were coming from. He wouldn't tell us the average dollar donation, which we won't find out until April 15th when the FTC filings are released. He wouldn't tell us any of that. Why? Because he knows he's full of it. That's why. Come on, people. Now, once again, so let's just say now we can't really use Beto's fundraising. So let's say how many volunteers he has. We don't know yet. We don't quite know. But Bernie has 1 million volunteers. So if Bernie has 1 million volunteers on top of, at that day, 6.1 million, like he raised another 2 million the day that Beto announced. 2 million. Bruh, come on. And I'm sure if you asked him once again where the money come from, he'll be more than happy to tell you and show you the receipts, unlike Kamala and Beto. Because fundraising is a good way to determine whether somebody's getting support. Grassroots fundraising, individual donations, things like that. Another way is how many volunteers do you have? Bernie, destroying. It's not even close. I don't even think Hillary had 1 million volunteers across the nation last year, or like last election. Not even joking. So he's outpacing them in volunteers. Another good way to tell, which is why the establishment tried to use this when Kamala opened up her bid. Crowd turnout. Remember, Kamala turned out 20,000 people to Oakland. Same thing as Bernie Sanders. Like, she's probably even like basically Bernie Sanders' twin now. That's basically what's happening. Yay for progressivism. Yeah, except for I don't know if y'all have been paying attention, but I have. Bernie is filling up convention center after convention center, after convention center, after gymnasium, after stadium, after coliseum. Not in one state, but in every state he walks into. Every single one of them. And I don't like, there was a report the other day that an election, or that I think it was in South Carolina, don't quote me on that, but he did a rally where the overflow room got overflowed. They couldn't keep them in there. Now, like this young lady on CNN said, and she did bring up a brilliant point, I'll admit. Why is he getting so much coverage? Why is Beto getting so much coverage? But then the question I would ask to her is the same question that she would ask to the other anchor, which is, why did Kamala get so much coverage and why did Beto get so much coverage? Because if this was Beto or Kamala, in Bernie Sanders' case, God knows if they were filling up stadium after stadium and convention center after convention center, for 2 months straight in states that aren't even the opening primary states. We would get news article after news article after news article after news article. But that's not it. See, they're kind of caught in a paradox, the establishment is, because the truth of the matter is they're trying to use Kamala Harris and Beto O'Rourke as the standard bearers. But you can't use them as the standard bearers. You can't call them the front runner when every time one of them supposedly does something significant, you say, look, they did the same thing Bernie did. That means they're the front runner. What happened? If they're the front runner, if they're the ones you had pegged to win, if they're the ones whose campaigns are setting the standard, then why are you celebrating every time they create a milestone that equals or surpasses one of the thousands of milestones that Bernie Sanders has? Just out of curiosity. So she does bring up a point. But to answer her question, the truth of the matter is, it looks like the establishment has moved on from Kamala. And I've been saying this. Kamala has put her foot in her mouth. The whole feet. All the feet. All 10 toes. In her mouth. Every single opportunity she has gotten. The truth of the matter is, when they took her to the Hamptons to vet her, they vetted to see if she was willing to play ball and be corrupt and let them control her. They don't actually vet for viability. Come on, people. They don't think that they're, hey, how are you on the issues? They don't vet for viability. They're not asking her the tough questions that the media may ask her. They're not asking her the tough questions that the people would ask her. And she's not good at her job as a candidate. She sucks at it, actually. And she's getting beat down in every single state she goes to. Her following is dropped. Bernie has double the amount of black supporters than she does now. So what does that mean? Next. That's what it means. It means next. It means you got to find someone who can actually be a viable candidate. So now they believe that Beto O'Rourke will be a viable candidate. But once again, he said that he won't take any PAC money, quote unquote. So now he has to do it another way. And apparently, which we're going to do another segment on later, he did find a way, which is to use corporate bundling, which is a little bit different. But if once again, if we can tell by the way they're treating Beto, the way they're treating Kamala, if they did any of the things that Bernie is doing, has done, 24-hour news coverage about it. But Bernie is actually doing these things. And they're trying to she's complaining about Beto getting disproportionate amount of attention. Beto and Kamala get disproportionate amount of attention compared to the actual front runner. I think that we would all disagree with that. But once again, I think the overall point to take away from this is that the establishment is eating its own. And they're going to use identity politics as their sauce before they finish devouring each other. We told y'all, stop playing identity politics game. And now y'all began to believe your own BS. And so we're going to watch y'all cannibalize each other. Is that cool? We just going to watch over here while Bernie just soars to the finish line. But hey, good luck. You're going to need it. Thank you for watching that segment of Mi Casa es Su Casa. Help us reach our goal of 500 patrons. You can do so by donating as little as $1 by clicking on the Patreon link in the description below. Don't forget, join us on Roku and JustNForm. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook as well. And remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.